have decided something. What have you decided? I have decided
that
When we're born, we have a mommy and daddy, right? And then when we grow up and get married, we have children of our own. And then our children grow up and get married and have children. And so on and so on. So it's very important and very fun also to have sex.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Hello, hello. This is Miranda, and you're listening to Interesting Sex, a podcast about who, how, where, and why we fuck. Could you guys please just take a real quick little second and subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever it is that you're listening to us and give us a great review if you like it. I'm freaking happy as always to have you guys here, and I'm really happy to get to share my episodes with you. We have a really awesome chick today. Bella Lunacy is her name. She is a polyamorous beauty in the Northwest, and she has a lot of really cool stuff that she wants to talk to us about today. She really likes fruit, and maybe not in the same type of way that you or I like fruit. It's a little bit more specific, and I think that we should all give it a listen. And maybe after you listen, give fruit a chance. Give fruit a chance. Okay, so let's just get into this. Let's open our ears, our hearts, and our holes and give a nice warm welcome to Bella Lunacy.
Hey.
Hi, this is Miranda from Interesting Sex.
Hello, Miranda. How are you?
I'm good. Is this Bella Lunacy?
Yes.
How's it going today?
It's going. How's it going for you?
Good. I'm excited to talk to you. I feel like you have a ton of interesting stuff to talk to us and the listeners about today.
Lord have mercy, yes.
We all need your help. So Bella Lunacy, that's really pretty. Is it kind of like beautiful moon, or how did you get that name? What does it mean?
So it's my stage name since I do burlesque and modeling and an assortment of other artistic endeavors. Bella Lunacy, originally I was Bella Luna, but didn't do due diligence to check to make sure that name was not taken. And I actually got that, beautiful moon. It came from song lyrics from something I liked a lot. And then when I was trying to adjust my name to not step on another performer's toes, somebody suggested Lunacy, and I said, that's perfect, because I am absolutely beautiful madness.
That's awesome. I like it better, too. Cool. So how long have you been performing burlesque? Are you still performing burlesque?
I am. I've been performing burlesque, belly dance, all that good stuff for about maybe 7 years now. I feel like I said 5 years a number of years ago, and I forgot to keep track after that. Like, I undercut myself.
Right.
And, like, I put a benchmark, and then I just forget to move the benchmark
Right.
beyond that.
I have a friend who turned 30 6 times in a row.
Oh, man, I did that after my 21st birthday. I would celebrate my third 21st, my fourth 21st.
Right.
The time we got to my sixth 21st, I was told it was not cute anymore, so I stopped.
Who are you as a human, as like a gender? How do you sexually identify? Who are you?
I am pansexual, which is just a fancy word for bisexual, really. I do consider myself very gender fucked. I don't consider myself fully quote unquote female, but I do identify as a woman very much politically, considering that's how the rest of the world views me. And I do like having a vagina, so
Cool.
I just feel like I'm missing things.
And you are in the kink world. Was kink your introduction into burlesque, or burlesque introduced you into kink?
Actually, no, they are completely separate. I got into a lot of kinkier communities when I was first becoming sexually active. Later on, when I realized I was interested in performing arts and stuff like that, that was a separate journey entirely. And it was only a few points where they merged. For the most part, it's pretty separated.
When did you start becoming sexually active, and how did kink get introduced so soon for you?
I was about 14, 15. When I first had sex, it was not kinky at all. I call it very retro, like on your friend's dad's basement's tweed couch situation.
Right.
It was like something out of that 70s show. But after that, it was like immediately, it was nothing but BDSM and filling these domination submission fantasies.
How were you introduced into that right away? or you just found somebody that was like that, or you had already read articles or like seen, I don't know.
I've had an interest in erotica, and in fact my own namesake comes from, well, my real name, which I'm not going to bring up here, but comes from an erotic actress who played a character that was based off of a book on BDSM, basically, or a novel of BDSM. So I had a very quick attachment to all these novels I was reading and these fantasies that were just consistently developing in my mind. When I started becoming sexually active, it was not hard to find other people who had similar fantasies.
Were they in your same age group, or you found most of them to be older? Were most of them males when you started?
Most of them were male when I started. Most of them were at least a few years older. I definitely did a lot of my drunken hookups too, which were not as much, but definitely still had elements of kink. Maybe we didn't have all the bells and whistles, but there was always someone in control, and usually that one wasn't me. Every now and then it was, but typically a lot of, especially older males, love being able to dominate a younger girl. And we could probably get into that in a really negative context. And I do a lot of soul searching on my past in regards to that as well. Like, how many of those people were, super interested in sharing these experiences with me, and how many of them were just low-key sexual predators.
Right.
But regardless, I got something out of it. I'm entitled, no matter what age, to explore sexuality and what vein I find myself in. I think I started trailing off a little bit there.
No, that's okay. So I had a question. Oh yeah, okay. So are your parents, were they sex positive and open about talking to you about sex, or you felt the opposite? And where did you grow up?
I wouldn't say they were sex positive, and I wouldn't say they were sex negative. They didn't talk about it too much. I mean, they didn't actively avoid the conversation. If you asked direct questions, then they answered, but I feel like it was a very odd mixed bag on that front, like on how they regarded it. There were times that I think my mama definitely did not want me to become what I've become. Definitely made mama cry a few times. But my parents are both incredibly supportive of my burlesque career now. And, they've even been dealing with, my polyamory. They've been dealing with all that stuff.
So you're very open with them about all of it.
I had to be. Being online and being like a presence for people and trying to speak up about things. I mean, it was going to come up. It was going to be found out. So it was like I needed to just kind of rip off those Band-Aids, because it's going to be a really weird, Hanukkah conversation or whatever.
So you financially, do you make pretty much all of your money by working in burlesque and dance and in the kink world, or you have another job?
I wish I could make my life just off of art. No, I've got a few jobs.
Okay.
I'm living in Seattle right now, and it's fucking expensive out here. So no, it's too expensive up here to not have a multitude of jobs.
Right.
So there was a summer I was making it just as an artist, but I was also living in a house with a bunch of other people. So
right. How old are you?
I am 29.
29. That's a good age. Actually, that was my least favorite age, I have to be honest.
I was divorced twice before I even turned 25.
Okay.
So I kind of
don't have a lot of expectation, like, of what 30 is supposed to look like.
I'm just writing shit out right now. And I'm just going to try to enjoy my life while I've got it and not have too high of expectations.
Yes.
I don't want to set myself up for disappointment. And I know that sounds negative, and I don't mean to sound negative, but I try to manage expectations on the basis of reality, but also still like, well, no, let's fantasize about this. Why can't we make this thing happen,
When you were married, were they open relationships, or you were in a monogamous marriage?
Oof. So the first marriage had its ups and downs because I actually didn't know I was poly yet. Back then when I was with that particular partner, I kind of honestly was chalking a lot of stuff up to just like teenage hormones,
Yeah.
I honestly thought maybe, I'm just a very sexually active person. I didn't realize that, I'm actually poly. I'm actually forming bonds with other people. And it doesn't mean that I don't want to be with my partner and stuff. It doesn't mean that I don't truly love them. Although that was kind of the case with the first marriage. And we've since discussed, our failings on that. We were both young and thinking that this would be a good idea. The second marriage is when it really hit home for me because I was head over heels in love with that man. I don't think I've had too many experiences where I just completely lost myself in another person like I did with him. And it was a couple years into that when I was realizing, oh my God, I still want to form bonds with other people, and I'm not a teenager anymore, so I can't blame it on that. And I'm absolutely head over heels in love with this guy. So it's not that. I think I'm actually just poly. And I was so scared to tell him. I thought he was going to break up with me right then and there, all that shit. And he didn't. He wasn't stoked, but he wanted to make things work, and he definitely got some fun times out of the deal. So, yeah. These days, after all that, I'm very upfront about where I'm at. Like the basic rule is at this stage in the game for me is I get to do whatever the fuck I want, and I will take care of your emotional, physical, whatever needs, just as any other relationship, any other healthy relationship. But I still get to go do whatever the fuck I want.
So what's interesting that you just said that I hadn't thought about before or talked to anybody about is that I always felt, I guess, that poly was a choice, whereas it kind of is sounding like you always needed multiple relationships or connections. And I haven't
Yeah.
well, first of all, we can just talk for a moment about what poly is, but then I'm kind of interested to hear, because I know it's becoming more popular, but I never really realized that it would just be someone is just that way and how that works, because that would make a meaning or difference on how those relationships can work.
I think a lot of when we see like how popular culture even talks about polyamory, it really feels more like it's an open relationship thing, or it's like big love. And I reject both of those notions. I do feel like it's a huge part of my identity and something that I can't really control. So, when you are single and you're, ready to get out there and find love, you just have that like switch on in your head, right? I'm going out there with this intent. I want to meet new people and I want to fall in love, right? That switch never feels like it turns off for me, even when I already have partners. And I don't know if, I think in the past people used to describe me as insatiable, but I don't think it's that, because once I round out to about 3 or 4 partners, usually, once my dance card's a little too full, timing becomes an issue.
Right.
Google Calendar is your friend in the poly world, I gotta say. But yeah, I think deep down I knew something was up. I just didn't have vocabulary for it for a very long time. I love learning new vocabulary to describe what the fuck's been wrong with me all my life.
Or what's right about you or different about you or unique about you.
Yeah. I will give one example, though. When I was a very little kid, like 6 years old, I was living in Chicago at the time, and I had this little boyfriend named Charlie. He was like one of my neighbors or whatever, and we just played together, sat next to each other, that kind of thing, that cute little sandbox romance, right? And then I met this other kid, and he was super sweet and cute, nice to me. And we would, sit next to each other, play together, yada, yada, yada. And then one day they met, and they were very upset because they wanted to fight for my affections. That toxic masculinity starts at such a young age. And they played a game of basketball over me, because it's Chicago in the 90s and that's what kids did back then. And they realized that they were really friendly with each other. They liked each other. So we became like a little triad, but we didn't know that's what that was, But it was the 3 of us after that.
So now you have, how many relationships are you in right now?
I am currently in 3.
Okay. Do you have like a favorite one?
No.
Like they all serve different things?
That sounds funny, right? Serves different purposes.
I don't know. No. Like this one gives good massage to this one likes to watch movies. This one's a good cook. Like put them together.
Unfortunately, we're not Frankensteining a relationship. No, you form these individual bonds and connections with people. Like you have more than one best friend usually, right? And maybe you have that friend that you love to go out with and stuff like that. Maybe you have that friend that you like to stay in with. It's all up in the air, but it's always unique, and it's always important not to put it against each other, because you're going to go crazy that way, and that's no way to treat your partners either.
Right. So what I always thought poly meant was that the relationships didn't always exist one and then the other, that they like kind of cross over and you guys would all date together, like maybe on the same date or something, like as a crew. But is that not what it sounds like?
That can be the case for some couples. That's definitely the case for a lot of people I know. That is not the case for me. I'm very much more of a solo poly, where I form these bonds.
Okay.
They can all be friends if they want. They can do whatever the hell they want with each other. I don't control their life, But I tend to want to be with people on an individual basis, not so much, we're all just, having one big puppy pile in bed every night.
Right. Do you sleep at their house or do they sleep at yours? Do you have different days of the week that are specified and that's why I use your Google Calendar?
It's not specified. It
Okay.
used to be, when one of my partners was still in Seattle. He's moved abroad since then, so that's long distance now. We used to have that Tuesdays were his day.
Right.
A lot of that's just based on everyone's work schedules. And
Right.
if the work schedules fluctuate, then the time fluctuates.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of Christmas presents? or Hanukkah gifts? I don't know. That sounds like the best. It's like divorced parents. You get like twice the amount.
No, I do get trinkets and different things, I suppose, but I wouldn't say like it's over the top by any means.
I'm sorry, I would just take this the wrong place. I'd be like, yeah, my other partner got me this diamond bracelet. Isn't it beautiful? And then like look at them like, your turn. Like I would just be such a bitch, I'm sure.
No, they all too broke for that shit.
You're
Although one of them flew my ass out to Spain this year, so that definitely set a different kind of benchmark. But I in no way have expectations for those kinds of grandiose.
Right. You're not dating them for money.
No.
So I'm interested in hearing about kink and how that started for you and how it evolved for you and maybe what kind of kink toys you use or like any stories you want to tell us, because I'm not exactly sure how kink differs from BDSM or if it's just like its own world or if BDSM is a part of kink. But if you could just talk to me about kink for a little bit and what it means
Well,
to
there's
you.
a fuck ton of overlap. Absolutely. In fact, most fetishes in general have some sort of a DS element. There's like some sort of a domination submission element. It may not always include bondage or sadomasochism, but there's definitely always like one partner more in control than the other in most scenarios. Not always, but if like we wanted to dissect even, the daddy kink, right? If people are really into like having daddy, then there's usually like, a dominant partner and a submissive partner, even in that scope. But there might not be spankings. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. It depends on what you're doing. And that's always the case when it comes to like fetish, BDSM. Depends on what you're into and depends on what you're doing. I think there's a lot of places to explore, and I've explored a lot of these realms. For me, like I said, I was reading a lot of novels growing up, and I was like, oh yeah, no, that sounds great. I definitely want a partner who's gonna, pin me down and do all that stuff. And then there were times I read things like, no, I would love to pin them down. That sounds really exciting too. It makes sex into like this very fun exploratory game where you can kind of like push each other's limits just a little bit. Like I always loved a little bit of that fight. So if they were going to tie me up, they had to do it real well because I was going to try to Houdini my way out of there. And if I could Houdini my way out, you lost. Like in my head, it was like this weird game.
Yeah.
And if they won, oh boy, did they win, you know?
So for you, kink started out as mostly like tying up and stuff like that?
It started with tying. It very quickly turned into like a bit of masochism as well, like getting hurt, getting used, getting asphyxiated. Breath play was a fun thing for a very long time, still comes up. I never got too much into being completely debased. I know that's a popular one for a lot of people within that realm. They like being called a bunch of mean names. I wasn't super into that. I liked the idea that control was being taken away from me, and I liked it, and there was nothing I could do about it. So you either roll with it or you don't. It was like that basic thought process, that basic scenario, no matter what bells and whistles were added on. Like it could be two partners and I'm in a sex swing. As long as we've got like that basis going, then the rest was just extra.
Okay. So for you, it's the power switch.
The power play.
Power play. Another thing that I like to know, like, did you always have to have that to get off?
I did for a very long time. It threw me for a loop when I suddenly didn't need that anymore. Like, I had like an identity crisis. I was wondering if I was even into anything anymore. My whole life was a lie.
So when you were married, you would still have to have some sort of domination to come the whole time with the same partner? Okay.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, was this after you were married that you started to realize that you
Yeah,
didn't need
it
that?
was it was actually exactly then. I was leaving them and I was going off and doing my crazy thing, and I that's when I actually met husband number two. And we had our own kinks and fetishes, but they weren't super revolving around BDSM. So it wasn't super revolving around bondage, domination, submission, masochism. It was a different thing. We were more into like gender stuff. Anyway,
What do you mean gender stuff?
I'll come back to that because
Okay.
that's a little separate conversation.
Okay. I'm writing it down. You're coming back to it. Gender stuff.
My sexuality's been a whirlwind, apparently. No, so we were just like in his room, and I think I spent like the weekend fucking him and his roommate. And there was like one day that we woke up and it was sweet the next day, right? I didn't get off the night before. I was drunk and just having a good time. But I remember the next day I was waking up and he was just kind of looking at me and it was sweet. And then he rolled me over and started, eating me out. And I wasn't being tied up. I wasn't being debased. Nothing was happening. Nothing was at all kinky about it. It was just normal, passionate, wake up in the morning sex, which is also not usually my fucking thing. Not a morning person. And I came and I was just like, holy fucking hell. How did that happen?
Right. Is it something that you tried before to see if you could come without it, or it's just like you always knew you couldn't?
I tried before and I couldn't.
Was he just going down on you the whole time, or you ended up having sex and then you came?
No, I can't come that way. He was going down on me. We had sex after.
And then did that just make you feel like that's the person that you realized that you'd never been more in love or lost yourself in? Do you think it was connected to that?
No, I think that helped. I was young back then, so I don't think that
like
was
23-ish or 22.
I was 20.
Okay.
I was 20. It was before my 21st birthday. Remember that? Yeah, no, it wasn't that. I was still young and I was still, I think I just let myself get super excited about him. I don't think that scenario helped with the excitement though, because that was when we were like just hanging out again. And then, yeah, he made me come, and I think that might have increased my excitement from there.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that definitely added to the love element because I discovered something new about myself. I discovered that it was like that passion. That passion is what really got me off. So if I'm with a partner who is super fucking into tying me up, beating me, whatever, suffocating me, as long as they're super passionate about it, then I'm into it. Because I have been with partners, I feel like they did it either because they thought I wanted that or because they thought they wanted that. But it was lame. It's really lame if you're both not feeling what you're doing, no matter what you're doing.
Right.
And in this scenario, I learned that as long as you're feeling it, then it's great. So it was freeing. I was like, I'm into a lot of things apparently then.
I have a question that I don't want it to sound uncomfortable, but it comes from a place of like my own start to sexuality too. But sometimes when you look back on being 14 and then getting immersed very quickly into a kink scene or something, looking back at how it happened, does it make you sad or make you wonder how it would be like now? Or does it make you like feel for the 14-year-old you? Or has it never been something you questioned, or you were happy with the way that it unfolded and you were doing most of the discovering instead of it happening to you?
It's something I think about, frankly, incredibly often these days.
Yeah.
There's one phrase that always pops in my head, and I kind of want to write something about this at some point. Because I wanted to be so in control of my sexuality that I ignored a lot of red flags and stuff that would indicate that I was definitely probably being used in a lot of scenarios. Yeah, so the phrase I keep thinking of is in defense of Dolores Hayes. I'm not going to go off on a long diatribe about the book Lolita, but that is one of those often misunderstood novels where you think Lolita's this teen temptress, right? But it's actually Humbert who's preying on her, and it's described in detail. She was definitely a little bit precocious in her young age as well, and I think a lot of young girls identify with that archetype, especially since that archetype has been so thrown out there our entire lives. We're supposed to be sexy and fun, right? We're supposed to welcome this kind of attention. Nowadays, we're trying to protect more. And on one hand, I love that. But on the other hand, yeah, now I got to kind of go back and put a modern lens over everything. I don't want to look back on my past with rose-colored glasses thinking that it was all fun and games and everyone thought I was older and mature enough. I don't really think that's the case anymore.
Right.
But I also don't take any of it back because it all made me who I am today. And I'm pretty okay with who I am. I started young. I didn't start as young as some. I didn't, feel at the time that it was the wrong thing to do. And I think that we are allowed that space to explore. If other people take advantage of that space, that's on them. That's not on us.
I mean, it was always a hard thing for me as I got older, like my college years, I was just wild child times 7. But like looking back, once I realized, I started to, really feel for that girl who was, as through therapy and a lot of things, I was also learning that I didn't have any other tools at that time to help me get through the stuff I was trying to figure out. And sexuality was one of those big things that I was using first and forward to like try to describe who I was or take control of who I was and stuff like that. So that was my tool at that time. But yes, I just think it's interesting.
Well, see, definitely me too. And I built a lot of my identity around my sexuality and my precociousness and my openness. I think part of that also because it was so thrilling to me, but also so shocking to a lot of other people watching, women essentially take that kind of control to do that. Like I was constantly being compared to a boy, which threw some, gender stuff my way. And then I kept thinking, well, I should just be a boy then, if they get to have the freedom to do with their bodies what they want to do and explore this wonderful fucking feeling, why shouldn't I?
Right. So people were referring to you as a boy because you seemed boyish or just because you were sexually open?
Because I was so unladylike, I think.
Because you've already mentioned gender stuff. So if you want to get into a little bit of gender right now.
I think, and again, I didn't have vocabulary for this back then either. I just think I'm not binary. I don't think it's so simple as that where you can place gender in this neat and tidy little box. And I do use sex as a way to explore that a little bit better because I definitely love looking feminine. I love dressing feminine, wearing
And you
makeup.
are very gorgeous. You do a good job at it.
My war paint is on point. That waterproof mascara hangs tough, and so does that winged eyeliner.
It does.
No, definitely, I love having the look. And it could, I'm trying to decide if it's chicken or the egg. Is it just in me that I can't really pin down exactly how I feel about my gender, or is it because I went through so much slut shaming and, being like, oh, you're just a guy. All the estrogen you have is in your tits, probably. Wait,
is that your mom's voice or whose voice is that?
That's my general asshole voice, I think.
Okay.
Like an old lady.
Yeah, it did.
No, my mom's not that old. Anyway, yeah, no. It's hard to chicken and egg this situation, but the results are the same nonetheless. And I am able, though, to explore my more masculine side through pegging. So I love being able to do that. Like
and
once
for
I
the
realized,
listeners, because I'm new about learning what pegging is, could you please tell us what pegging is?
that is where I get to wear a strap on and I get to fuck you.
That is so cool. But
And
does pegging only mean in the butt, or you could, or if you're with a girl, you could have sex with him vaginally, but that'd still be pegging?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I take that back. I don't know if that is. I keep using the term so interchangeably that I
Right.
might need to relook up that definition myself, come to think about it. Also, I typically, when I'm with a woman, I don't necessarily want to use a strap-on unless that's what she would want.
Right.
I kind of like being a little bit more au naturel, not so much with toys. I want fingers and tongue, I definitely prefer this with men and yeah, fucking them in the ass. And I get to be the one. I get to penetrate instead of being penetrated. It's a huge deal for me when I can find partners that are down for it. It's not a line in the sand. If people aren't down, they're not down. But if I can, I'm very excited.
Right. Do you often get to be somebody's first anal peg?
Ooh, I think I've been a couple of times. Been like the first that they've let like fingers in the ass a bunch, but I'm pretty sure I was
That
the
bird
first.
back there is like, peg me,
I know.
Bella. Do you hear that bird calling for you?
No, that poor little thing would die. A vegan. Yeah, no, I think they were both the first. I know that the ones who were where I was their first peg, they were definitely no stranger to anal sex though.
Okay. It would just kind of maybe be fun if you knew that that was a scenario because it is this whole other power play.
Strangely enough, virginity has no importance to me because I kind of believe virginity is just a construct anyway. So, yeah, I think that's why I didn't really think about it.
Yeah.
Virginity doesn't hold any real place of importance to me. Them trusting me to do anything with them does, though.
Yeah. I just learned what pegging was, I think, this last year. And I had dated a guy, like, I don't know, 4 years ago or so. He told me, like, if I ever wanted to do that to him, only if it was a fantasy of mine that I could, because it's like fair. Of course, I was like, what? I could do that? And I was like, it wasn't a fantasy of mine. So I wasn't like, yes. And he was like, only if you really want to, because it's not like he's not wanting that, but he would do it if I really wanted to. But maybe he did really want it and he didn't say it. I'm not sure. But like looking back, I'm like, I wish I knew now what I know now, because then I would have fucking pegged him.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know if I'm ever going to get the opportunity again.
Definite missed opportunity.
I know. I know. And he was kind of a dick. So, like, well, maybe it would be better now to peg him, to be like, take
I
that,
feel a
buddy.
little bit more like taking control back of that
Yeah.
situation.
Revenge sex.
Oh, God.
I've never even really had breakup sex because, I mean, like, makeup sex, because I don't really like the fighting. And if it gets to that point, like, I'm just done with you. So I've never even really had intense makeup sex. I have a lot to do.
I can't remember any of it being super notable, though.
Right. I feel like it's more just like emotional.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But as far as sexual, I think oftentimes I feel like any of that kind of sex is more for their emotional needs than it even is for mine. Because usually if I'm on a rage, then I'm going. I'm screaming, I'm shouting, I'm definitely not really that interested in kissing you or fucking you right that moment. Already so violent. I have left permanent fucking scars in one of my partner's backs, and I'm so proud of them, to be fair. And honestly, he's proud of them too. And that was for pleasure. I do not want to know what the fuck I would be capable of.
Right.
If like these things coincided.
So you use like a flogger or something? Like how did you leave scars on them?
Oh, that was fingernails. That was fingernails all through and through. I was so proud.
Like while you're getting sex, your fingers were going into him, or you were just doing it to his back as like foreplay?
Yeah. Well, it was in the middle. I remember it felt like I was digging into butter. His skin was so soft.
Oh my
And
God.
I remember thinking at the time, holy shit, this probably isn't good. And then, holy shit, this is kind of fucking awesome, though. Oh man, we're going to evaluate that later in life. In the meantime, let's finish up.
Right.
And then as soon as we were done, I'm like, we probably need to get some cleaning stuff, some first aid. And I looked, and it was just like bloody. I was like, holy shit.
Should you have
And even
skin
he
under
was
your
like still
nails?
riding the euphoria, so he didn't feel the pain or anything. He was just like, dang. And yeah, now it's a permanent scar in his back. It looks like he got attacked by a wild animal.
Well, and you're the lunacy animal that attacked him.
Yeah, I'm the one.
He's like, I'm not letting you go. So
No,
now when you have sex with your partners, is out of the three you said you have now, one of them is in long distance?
We still have sex over camera and things like that.
Okay. Do you have any females as a current partner or just males?
Not currently. Just
Okay.
males right now.
You were like 20 when you learned that you could have an orgasm without kink being involved. Where are you now with that and your partners?
It's still the same. It's still the same. I don't have to have the kink. I do like different things with each of my partners, though. Like there's some things I do with one partner that I will not do with the other per se. Like it just doesn't feel as right.
Right. But now I need details.
Okay.
Spill the beans.
So, for example, with vampire, actually, and this is so demented, and I don't know what it is about this, but
That's
I
my
love it when
favorite sentences. Okay, this is so demented, but
it is an unutilized word, by the way. But I love it when he spits on my asshole when he's like fucking me from behind. I don't know what it is, but like, and it started off as an accident where sweat dripped down there, but now it's like a thing we have to keep doing.
right.
Because it felt good that one time, so we have to keep doing that. The other partner,
It's just so
the
funny
long
though, because I
distance,
think it is cool when guys have such good aim when they spit.
I know, I was impressed.
I could never spit that good, but like sometimes guys will just like spit and hit the spot that they need to get wet, and you're like, whoa,
No, yeah, love
that's
it.
hot.
Like,
That's so disgustingly manly.
I love it when it continues to drip down from there. Like,
Right.
I'm really into how turned on I get, and then it becomes this like cycle. The more turned on I get, the wetter I get, then the more I notice I'm getting wet, then the wetter I get from there too.
Right.
It's this endless cycle of
Right.
arousal. For the other partner who is now long distance, I really had a major thing with him and strawberries. So I really liked when he would see how many strawberries he could fit inside of me,
Where inside of you?
inside my vagina.
Okay. I'm like, does he fill your mouth and then your vagina? Okay.
No. I liked him pushing them in, seeing how many we could get in. I think our record was like 5 or 6. And then when he goes down on me, he eats them out.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How did you
And
even know that was a thing?
I don't know. Okay, so this is my ongoing joke with my relationship with food. I don't have a food fetish, but sometimes I think there's something about like the organicness or the romanticism and like our own relationships with food. And this is like just one of those things. I'm still evaluating where the fuck this comes from. But it's a thing, and he's fine with it. Also with lollipops, he would fuck me with lollipops while he'd be eating me out. I had a thing for that too.
Do you lick the lollipop after, or does he?
Yeah.
You both do.
Yeah.
This sounds very exciting. I actually haven't talked to anybody. The strawberry thing is like brand spanking new in my head. Do you leave the green part on the end, or do you take that off before?
Oh no, we took that off.
Okay, so you
Don't need things getting
rinse. You
lost
buy
in
organic strawberries, then you take the top off and you rinse them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we cleaned them first.
Okay, and they're probably organic. You want as little
Right now,
pesticides as
I'm
possible.
going to say right now, especially for anyone who might listen to this later, if you are going to fuck with food or lollipops or, strawberries, whatever, anything that like has sugar content, you are at risk of a yeast infection. I clean myself out really well afterwards, so I have not had this problem yet, but you are at risk of a yeast infection. Just saying, you're playing with fire to anybody who decides, oh yeah, let's totally do this. So,
yeah. So after the strawberries, you would like do a douche or something? How do you clean yourself out?
Oh, you never douche.
Right.
I just cleaned. I'd take a bath and I'd clean myself out.
Okay.
Stick your fingers in there and stuff like that, and make
Yeah.
sure that
there's no little strawberry seeds in there.
No, there's no anti-strawberry vagina repellent afterward. De-strawberry your pussy.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other foods that you've tried?
God, I feel like there has. I know I've fucked with a wine bottle before, and I've had some wine on my pussy as well, but it has a nasty tendency to burn, so it doesn't always go the way I want it to because of the alcohol content. You do need to be careful with that, and also, again, major risk of yeast infection, so you don't necessarily want that inside of you. What else have I done?
You know what I think would be? I wouldn't mind eating like a donut off a dick.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that in like pictures and stuff like that.
I haven't, but I just have been really craving a chocolate donut. There's a Dunkin' Donuts near where I work, and it's drive-through, so I will never go because once you do that once, it becomes easier. And I don't want to just start getting donuts every now and then. But man, I really want a chocolate donut. So, so if that's the way I have to have it.
Speaking of food and sex, though, have you seen any of the work by Stephanie Sarli?
No.
She is someone you need to follow on Instagram for sure. She basically just fingers fruit and does these videos of it. She'll just finger fruit. She'll add honey or milk sometimes. It is so erotic, but so strange at the same time. She's my favorite person to follow on Instagram, is Stephanie Sarli.
Okay, I will look up her. So what about chocolate sauce on your body, stuff like that, or it's more of an internal?
I think in my head, like whipped cream, chocolate sauce, a lot of that stuff. Like I've definitely done that stuff, and I've definitely, oh yeah, I've sucked dick with maple syrup on it before. And I'll tell you this, I don't think I've ever sucked a dick so long in my life as when it had maple syrup on it. But, I think chocolate sauce and whipped cream, I've done those things, but I think it just feels super pedestrian to me, and I don't have this same like
It's like
relationship
sticky.
with those foods.
Okay.
I think it's definitely more of like a fruit thing. It's not even a vegetable thing because like I haven't like fucked carrots or cucumbers or anything, and a lot of people talk about that all the time. No, it's oddly specific.
Yeah, to fruit.
Yeah, and specifically, definitely strawberries. Just very specifically that I can't. I think other berries would be super cool, but I would be more concerned about those getting lost up there.
Yeah.
You kind of want something sort of big so that way if they can't get it out, you can push it out with your own muscle control.
Right.
And yeah, I also learned I can definitely push strawberries out of myself just fine too.
Right. Can you shoot things out like ping pong balls like you
Oh,
hear?
no, I did try once, but it didn't happen.
That was fun. If you had to pick one kind of kink that you could keep forever and let the rest go, what do you think you would pick to keep in your bedroom?
I probably would still find something within the vein of domination submission. Again, so much of this stuff still always ends up coming back to that. But I kind of like this passion kick that I've been on for the last how many years. I think I'd rather stick with what I'm doing. It's far more exploratory. Like, I don't know if I would have come up with some of the same ideas or have even been with a lot of the partners I've been with if I had to keep it so revolved around kink and fetish.
Like you might not have had the fruit.
I might not have, although who knows?
Who knows? So what are some of the other fun ideas that you come up with?
So I really, and like if we're talking like even like bucket list stuff, I really want to like do like a traveling sex blog. I think that would be a lot of fun because I've always loved reading erotica. I've always loved writing erotica. And I especially love doing it based on my own life experiences. So I think it would be really cool to include that with my love of travel and then like including like photos as well of like, you know, parts of the people, maybe not like just like their fucking genitalia, but like each snapshot being like Rome, but it's like a person, you know, or Paris and it's a person. I just think that would be really, really cool. Yeah, to combine those two things, like that adventure would be amazing.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything else that you'd like to share that you thought of.
No, I think we've covered a good chunk of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I do think I have another question. I think is your exploration of sex when you were younger versus now, how do you think you approach relationships and sex now is more from a way of connection, whereas before it was exploration? Or how would you like to say that your path has taken you to a healthier, happier place in exploring your kink and love?
There's definitely still a place of exploration, for sure, because every human body is different. And even the way they feel with you, it can be so different. Like, you can still be surprised from the most absurd of things. Like every now and then when you have that moment when someone just like even holds your hand, you're like, holy fuck, that feels electric. It hasn't felt like that since I was 12, you know? Like every now and then those kinds of moments still come up, and I think our bodies and our love lives will always still surprise us. I definitely approach everything a lot healthier though. I'm not just gonna jump off the cliff because I want to have a fun time. You know, I'm not gonna throw myself to the wayside for the sake of, you know, getting love from the wrong person. I'm still foolish in love. We are working on that.
Yes. I really want to thank you for just being so honest and open and sharing your like history and your journey sexually and emotionally.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being able to have the space to talk about these things.
Thank you. Awesome. Yes. Have a great rest of your day. And I hope you have some sex today.
Thank you. You have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
So I'm going to say this part instead of her because the recording quality as this episode went on got a little tough. I did the best I could to make it as good as I could. So I hope you guys still enjoyed the interview. I had to keep it because there are so many gems in here. But anyway, you can find her on Instagram or on Facebook under Bella Lunacy. You can also find her on Patreon under Bella Lunacy as well. She's got a picnic shoot there with food and wine. She's got erotic pictures, all sorts of yummy jazz that you're going to want to check out. So feel free to support her there and in any of the places that she exists. She would love to hear from you. Yes, so when I was a little girl, I got to pick whatever I wanted for my birthday dinner every year. And I would always pick lasagna, and I would always want a fruit salad. And I'm kind of craving fruit salad again in a different kind of way. But I think I would still enjoy the banana as well as the strawberry, maybe not the orange. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here and for listening. I love having you here. Please remember that we are so lucky to be in a place that we get to have sex with who and how we want, and 10% of any profits from this show is going to help to stop sex and human trafficking. Let's be appreciative for what we have, but let's help stop the misfortunes of others. Please go and subscribe, rate, review us. We are so happy you're here. Go to InterestingSexPodcast.com. We have great Christmas gifts there. There's a flogger made by Petus Maximus. There's this really funny book I found called While You're Pooping. It's an inappropriate children's book for adults. There's a bunch of naked people in there having sex and stuff because while you're pooping, Bella Lunacy was probably fucking. So there's that. So go check that out. Do you think you have great sex? Well, let me know about it. Go to InterestingSexPodcast.com and let me know about your sex. Maybe you can be on the show. We'd love to have you. And have a great day, y'all. See you next Tuesday when we find out what the pussy drags in. Thanks to the band 41 for making this fucking rad song. I totally love it. Check them out at 41music.net.
I promise I will not judge any person.
Yeah.